Bread aisle, are you ready to rock? Dave's Killer Bread is the country's #1 organic bread for a reason. Always delivering killer taste, killer texture, and killer nutrition. This isn't bread. This is bread amplified.
Welcome to Mom and Dad Are Fighting, Slate's parenting podcast for Thursday, August 24th, the We Were All New Once edition. I'm Elizabeth Newcamp. I write the homeschool and family travel blog Dutch Goose. I'm the mom of 3 littles, Henry who's 11, Oliver who's 9, and Teddy who's 6, and we live in Tokyo, Japan.
I'm Zach Rosen. I make another podcast. It's called The Best Advice Show. And I am dad to Noah, who is going to be 6 this week, and Ami, who's going to be 3 very soon. We live in Detroit.
I'm Jamilah Lemieux. I'm a writer, contributor to Slate's Care and Feeding Parenting column, and mom to Naima, who's 10, and we live in Los Angeles.
Well, today, in honor of the start of school, we have a question about making new families feel welcome in the community. Our letter writer loves their school, but feels it can be very closed to outsiders. They want to do better, but aren't sure where to start. Then, if you're in the Slate Plus Club, we're going to talk about some big back-to-school feelings based on a piece we found in Romper. Here's what you'll hear if you have Slate Plus.
Comparing kids like, oh, look at Justin. He's having fun over there. And see, Maya's smiling. She's happy. Like, that doesn't help. And that's actually something that I probably have done before. When I read that, I realized that. And that isn't helping.
As a Slate Plus member, you get a whole bonus segment every week and all your favorite Slate podcasts ad-free. It's truly the best way to listen and the best way to support the show. You can sign up for Slate Plus now at slate.com/momanddadplus. All right, we're going to jump into triumphs and fails as soon as we get back from this short break.
As a parent, you want to set your kids up for success. That starts with empowering them to learn in ways that are best for them. K-12 powered schools can help your child start reaching their full potential in life now and give you the support you need to get them there. K-12 powered schools are tuition-free, online accredited public schools for kindergarten through 12th grade, designed to help your child to learn at their own pace and in their own place with an engaging curriculum that supports individual learning styles. K-12 powered schools' state-certified teachers are trained online educators, and they utilize hands-on, innovative technology to make learning interactive. K-12 has more than 20 years' experience helping students gain the skills they truly need to thrive in the future. And it could be perfect for your child, too. Join the more than 2 million families who have been served by K-12 and empower your students to reach their full potential now. Go to k12.com/momanddad today to learn more and find a tuition-free K-12 powered school near you. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/momanddad. k12.com/momanddad.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Hey listeners, whether you love true crime or comedies, celebrity interviews, news, or even motivational speakers, you call the shots on what's in your podcast queue, right? And guess what? Now you can call the shots on your auto insurance too. Enter the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. The Name Your Price tool puts you in charge of your auto insurance by working just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, then they'll show you a variety of coverages that fit within your budget, giving you options. Now that's something you'll want to press play on. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to choose the best option for you, fast. It's just one of the many ways you can save with Progressive Insurance. Quote today at progressive.com to try the Name Your Price tool for yourself and join the over 29 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
All right, Jamilah, what have you been up to this week?
So I've mentioned before that Naima and I really like to play board games at night or Uno. You know, it's one of our bonding activities. And you can get kind of bored with the games, no pun intended, that you have. So we try to buy new ones every now and again. And at my urging, we purchased Clue. Clue is
classic,
the worst game that has ever been created. I can't believe it exists. The instructions are so confusing. Have you all ever made it through a game of Clue? Like, I feel like I had it as a kid and my mom and I played, but like, I bought it and there are different instructions for 2 players. It's usually meant to be played with more people. And when I tell you, I read these instructions over and over again and could not make sense of how to play this game. I ended up packing it back up so we can take it to the store.
I mean, I think basically you're just going, you spend most of your time traveling from room to room. And then when you're in that room, you can look at what's there, right? And then it's kind of like a logic game from that point, because the more you figure out, who is in these packets, then you know who's not in them.
So there's the cards that have like Colonel Mustard and the, revolver and the dining room, and like when you play with 2 players, instead of dividing the cards up between you, you put them in the rooms, but you only put them in 4 of the rooms, which means you could be going from room to room and not getting any clues. It's very confusing.
But why would you go to a room that didn't have the
I
clue?
know.
So you never go into that room, but what if the crime happened in that room? Yes, this seems, because you do, like, some of you have the cards, so you never know what the other players have, but then there are cards in the rooms. I mean, I do agree, now that we're discussing it, it's like, oh yeah, this is a really dumb game. We played it at the YMCA one time when we were up there, but it was like us plus another family. So there was, and we had all these little kids that kept flashing their cards. So when it was time to end the game, it was very easy to end the game because most of us had seen the little kids' cards.
I haven't played since the mid-90s, so it's hard for me to remember.
I'm so disappointed.
You should write to what is it, Parker Brothers?
I think it's Parker Brothers.
Your classic game is actually
Your game is terrible. And it's got this beautiful new redesign. Like, all the characters are so gorgeous now.
I just remember that the squares are, like, funny. Like, that it's not easy to travel to certain rooms.
No, it's not. It's weird. It's like, you're not allowed to move diagonally, but like it's kind of impossible to get into a room without making a diagonal move. It's very strange.
Were you able to return it successfully?
Not yet, but I will, because I've taken a number of board games back to Target that have been opened and failed.
You're like, this is
terrible. We can't do this.
I just really like some of the newer games where like they've been more thought out. I don't know. In ye old days, maybe we were just content with like rolling. Is there even a dice? How do you know how many to move? It's a dice, right? Okay, some dice. Oh gosh, what a bummer though. Were you just like so emotionally bummed?
Especially because it happened the night of the hurricane and our TV was out, so we couldn't watch anything. So we wanted to play.
Guess it's Uno
again. If anyone has any recommendations for good board games for 2 players, let us have it. We are open.
I'm sorry, Clue was a bummer. Zach, how about you? What are you up to this week?
Just playing a lot of Clue with my family. Just kidding. What am I up to? Well, okay. So we've had a couple significant things happen at our house. I think back a lot to the potty training expert you interviewed earlier this year, Liz.
Yeah.
And how she said, like, you don't need to rush into potty training. Like, wait for your kid to like beg for this experience. Like, wait for their enthusiasm to lead you into that phase of their life. And I like that idea. But then we decided recently that we're actually going to switch daycares. We found one that's actually in our neighborhood. It's a lot cheaper. It seems really great. But the kids need to be potty trained for it. And so Ami's going to be going there in October. And so we've kind of we did kind of a soft launch. We didn't do like, we're going to sit at home all weekend with your pants off and like try to hammer it home. But we're just trying to encourage him to go more. And slowly but surely, he's gotten excited about going to the bathroom. And this week, we're recording this on Tuesday. On Sunday, he made his first poop in a toilet. And then yesterday, and he had been peeing a little bit too in toilets. But yesterday, he peed standing up at a restaurant, which was a very exciting thing. He was very proud of himself. I was so proud of him. And my little guy Ami, who's going to be 3 next month, he's growing up. So I'm really thrilled for him. He's not potty trained yet, but this is the beginning, and I'm thrilled for him. And then this other thing happened this week with Noah, where I don't know if this has happened to you, where your kid will be upset about something and then call you the worst person in the world, call you, all sorts of synonyms for an asshole. And this is what Noah did a couple days ago. It's usually more so directed at mom than it is at dad. I get it sometimes, but moms take it, and undeservedly. But she was telling Shira that she doesn't want to be her daughter, and she's really upset. We're playing over at our friend's house, and there was just, I think she felt a loss of control, and she was tired. She woke up early that day. It was just a number of factors, but she blew up at Shira, and it was like 2 minutes, and that was it. Like she was okay after that, but a day later, we were talking to her about it, but like even after we tried to process it with her on her own, she went up to Shira and just said, "I'm sorry, I haven't been so nice to you this week. I apologize."
Aww.
And she said, "I just don't like that you're the boss of me," which is fair. And Shira's like, I hear you, Noah. Like, the reason why I tell you to do things and dad tells you to do things, even if you don't want to do them, is we're just trying to keep you safe and healthy. It's not because we want to be your boss. It's because we're just looking out for you. But it's hard, and I get it. And she's like, "Yeah, I know, but sometimes I just want to like eat chips whenever I want." And she was like, "Yeah, like I get that. And like sometimes you do get to eat chips. But for now, like, we are going to be your kind of boss parents, and we won't always be, but that's just kind of the reality." And she's like, "Okay, I kind of get it." But it's really cool that she was able to talk about why she was upset, and have a conversation about it after she had calmed down. And it was amazing. She's incredible.
They're maturing so much.
I know, all these milestones. I think that's so great.
I'm proud of my kids this week. I'm proud of them every week, but especially this week. How about you, Elizabeth?
Well, I have a story of me not being a great person. So I am going to preface this by saying, like, I am not my best self during moves. Jeff is not his best self. Like, it is...
Oh, when you move
90s.
Across the world with your 3 kids and have a bunch of new things, you're not your best self? How dare you?
Exactly. And just like everything, I feel here overstimulated all the time, and I can't even like come back to my own like safe home space, because while we are now in the house, it is still very much like we don't have any of our furniture. We have like loaner stuff. They did deliver 1,000 pounds of stuff, which is great to have, but we have nowhere to put it, and we're in all these little battles. Like, we didn't pack any hangers in that move, but hangers are coming. So do I buy more hangers? But it's like that with everything. So I feel like I'm walking around just like managing everything all the time. Plus it's like in the 90s here with kind of no break. And like I mentioned before, in the city, it's just hot. So I'm just like hot all the time. Mm-hmm. So we decided to go to this museum of emerging technology, which is like amazing. But we drove there, and parking is complicated because we got a very small minivan, but it doesn't always fit in all the decks. So I feel like every time we're parking, we're like heightened. And all of this taking there had made us late, which is something... and late for a like time that we had set ourselves. We weren't meeting anyone, but Jeff and I both really like to kind of stick to a schedule. So it was like we had left the house late because we had to get all the stuff. The car ride took longer, then parking took longer. So when we get out of the car, he is like rushing because he wants to get the tickets. He is like, if you've listened to the show, we are now in full Turbo Jeff. Like, he is moving us so quickly through the parking lot. He's picking at the kids and at me. I'm picking at him and the kids. And we see kind of what we think is the elevator to go there. And he's like rushing towards it. He has his hand out. And then I hear this like smack. And he has run into a glass door. No. Like full face into it. And instead of asking, "Are you okay?" instead of doing anything, I collapse on the floor in complete laughter. And for the next probably, I'm not even joking, 4 to 5 minutes, I can't do anything but cry, laugh. Like, I try to pull it together to be like, "Are you okay?" Because you guys, he's bleeding on his nose, and I can't. Because to me, it was so evident there was a glass door there. The kids are like not sure what to do because we've been like fighting all morning. And I'm like sort of checking on him, but I am mostly laughing.
Sure.
And he is not sure like whether to be angry or see humor in the situation. We do kind of like stumble through getting tickets, but I'm not even joking. For the whole rest of the day, anytime I thought about it, just tears would form in my eyes. And I was resisting being like, well, you know, karma is just telling us to like slow down, like whatever, right. Like it's just told us, like, calm down. My kids, though, have launched now several conversations about how that is not like the compassion that we try to teach them, you know.
That
like,
laughing at him isn't compassion, you're saying? They were saying?
Yeah, like it's not very, what I did was not very compassionate. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's still very funny to me. Like I'm having to hold it together here because the image is just so that we were just like rushing around, and guys, the sound that it made, it was like a bird.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, it was so funny. Anyway,
I mean, if
I'm a
he was
terrible
really
person.
hurt, you wouldn't have been doing that.
He has a bump on his nose. He was bleeding. It was. I did stop enough to be like, "Do you think it's broken?" And he's like, "No," and then I just like started cry laughing again. I'm chalking it up to be a stress release.
Yes.
There was just,
catharsis.
I was so like, this is just the way that it was coming out. But the good news is we didn't have to go to a Japanese ER yet. Well, on that note, we're going to take another quick break, and then we will see you back here for our listener question. All right, we are back. Let's hear today's listener question.
Dear Mom and Dad, we have a neighborhood school in Washington, D.C. known for its close-knit atmosphere. But this often poses challenges for new families, especially those with children entering upper elementary grades. We have a family that was new to the school last year. They had a 5th grader who was the only new kid in his class. Not only was the school year tough for the student, but also for the parents. I happened to develop a friendship with the family later in the year, and over coffee this summer, one of the parents mentioned that they were close to looking for a new school because they felt so boxed out by the closeness of all the other families. They were commenting that they are so glad they didn't, but that they spent over half the year feeling lonely and left out. I started wondering what we as a school could do better to welcome and integrate new families. While our school's culture of involvement and community is wonderful, it can sometimes feel daunting for newcomers to find their place. Our school starts each year with a welcome movie night, which clearly isn't cutting it. I'm not really sure what else to suggest, though. I'm hoping you might have some ideas that I can pitch to the PTA and other parents to make sure we continue to create an environment where every child and family, whether new or long-standing, feels valued and part of our wonderful school community. Thanks. I was new once too.
This is sweet. I like the spirit of that there's this movie night welcoming event, but you can't get to know people at a movie night if that's going to be like the welcome where you get a bunch of people together and then you sit silently. I don't know if that is going to be effective. So my suggestion would be to tweak the movie night to something where there's going to be a lot more interactivity that isn't too overwhelming. Like, I actually don't love like icebreakers, but if there's some kind of event, maybe it involves food, some kind of activity where you're actually going to be interacting with new folks. That would be great. But I think the main point I want to make is in welcoming folks, the kind of initial welcoming moment is just the beginning, and people aren't going to feel particularly like part of this, what sounds like an incredibly beautifully tight-knit community. Like, I'm really curious how this neighborhood school got to be so close-knit, but like what needs to happen, I think, is for there to be like a welcoming committee that is going to have a sustained relationship with the new folks. So I think that could look like, students themselves being paired with, like a returning student and a new student paired together, and having like check-in times every week for them to hang out. But then also you as a concerned and engaged PTA member, like you can and should assign new families to other families, and like, you can invite them for dinner like every week. Hopefully you'll get along, but like the idea is to sustain the interactions, I think, because otherwise you can say hello to someone, but if you don't follow up, there's not going to be much built out of that.
I was thinking along the same lines as Zach in terms of partnering kids and families up with, existing students and existing families, and maybe requiring a weekly check-in. I think that would be a really great way to help integrate families into the school. You could also turn movie night into game night.
Yeah, game night. That's great.
That would give folks an opportunity to interact and actually talk.
I totally agree.
In addition to having families paired with new families, the PTA could also have somebody who's responsible for checking in on new families every so often, just to see, like, how are you feeling about the school? Are you getting everything you need from here? Are you connecting with people? How can we support you?
Yeah, I love that idea of someone like checking in beyond that first kind of initial meeting. Because I was thinking about, because we're, new here, what every family needs is different. So if there's some way to have that person you're paired with asking them questions about themselves, about their family. And so even if they're not the right family to be paired with, like if you're such a close-knit community, it seems like sometimes you would be able to have someone kind of survey or assess these new families. It sounds like there aren't that many new families, so that then as a community, you can kind of take in these new people and find out what they need. Because I know, like, for me as a parent, like, what I need is someone that I can text with all of the questions that, if you have been part of a community, are not questions to you, right? So like when the teacher's like, oh, I posted this, or I sent this home, or you're going to be getting this, and you're like, okay, is this an app? Like, how do I get on there? Where are we getting this information? How did people know about this? Like that parent that you can text that doesn't mind just being like, hey, I know, are they supposed to wear PE uniforms tomorrow? Like all of those little questions, I think builds a relationship, but would be really nice if you provided that to them versus like, well, I now need to find someone that I can do all this with. Like, hi, I'm your person and I'm here to answer all your questions. Text me anytime. Let me know. And then I don't know that you need like formal training, but having those people that were new last year, right, come back and say like, these are the things that I wished happened. I think too, if there's any way to just put this out to the school, like, guys, we need to be, there aren't that many new people. If you see someone new, you need to be just at least checking in with them.
Have you had any moments, Elizabeth, with existing families at your school that have reached out yet?
I mean, the administration's been good. I think because we're at an international school that's pretty transient, like the administration's been really good about reaching out prior to this. But I think like 4 minutes into orientation, we had an orientation last Friday, dad sat down next to me and was just like, we are obviously new. I mean, I should say like half the school is, a little less than half the school, but is Japanese. And so it's very clear, like already from half the school, we, do not look Japanese. And then, cause it's smaller, everyone knows each other. So it was very clear, like we're a new family. But he just like sat down and was like, hey, you're new, da, da, da. What, do you know what class you're, kids in and we were chatting. And then he was just like, do you know how to share WhatsApp contacts? And I was like, no. And so he showed me how to do like a QR. You can like do this QR thing. And then his wife actually, I met her too. And then she texted me just like, hey, did you have any questions before the first day of school? Just like really nice. She is not like PTA anything. She just was like, we were new last year.
Yeah.
And then actually she found me on the first day of school just to check in. So that was really nice. I mean, the
nice.
Parents that pick up all like stand together. So it wasn't like she sought me out. But when she saw me, she said hi. And I just think that's like the nicest thing. I mean, we've moved so much that I've told stories before, like I find people. So like if the school doesn't do it, I found someone in each class during orientation to be like, hey, I'm new. I know I'm going to have questions. Would you mind if I, texted you?
Totally.
I love though that this is someone who like isn't feeling who like feels like part of the community, noticing that. Like I feel like that in and of itself is a really good sign.
Yeah.
So good job. I was new once too. I love this question. Listeners, I'm sure that you guys have some ideas. So please, we would love to hear those. You can, of course, email us at momanddad@slate.com. That's also where you can send us your own questions or topic ideas. And that's it for our show. Please subscribe, leave a rating and review, and tell your friends. This episode of Mom and Dad Are Fighting is produced by Rosemary Belson and Maura Currie. Shasha Leonard is the voice of our listeners. Alicia Montgomery is VP of Slate Audio. For Zach Rosen and Jamilah Lemieux, I'm Elizabeth Newcamp. Thanks for listening.